Let's start this thing.
Let's start this thing. Get this thing going. We're recording, right?
I don't want him to talk until we fire this thing up. I'm not listening to Frank.
We're already recording, right?
Yeah, we're recording.
We are.
Yeah, I saw something. I knew something was going on because Bush hit the clock record thing, so he must have got a notification. All right, Foreplay, presented by Barstool Sports, our great friends at Chevrolet. It's the return. It's a big show. You know, there were some shots thrown in Frankie's absence, but he has returned to the show. We got to get him on a scale, and welcome back, Frankie.
Buongiorno. Mi chiamo Frangucci.
Is this your new look? Because you look fantastic.
You do,
guys.
Look nice.
I'm a changed man. All right. I went to another part of the world for 2 weeks and I came back and I don't ever want to be the same person that I used to be. This is it. You guys have to call me Frangucci now. That's who I am. That's who I became over the last 2 weeks. It feels great to be back. I drink wine now instead of water. This is all I do. I just drink wine.
Okay.
I show my chest and I don't wear hats. That's just like the new me. I can't see you guys because I'm wearing sunglasses inside.
You look very tan. You got very bronzed while you were over there.
Yeah, it was sunny as fuck. It was incredible.
So you got back. How long have you been back?
Got back Friday.
What is your reacclimation transition back to America been like?
Would you have preferred to just stay there for the rest of your life?
Dude, it's like I can't wear these because it's way too dark in here. It is it's the most culture shock change I've ever had in my entire life, and I never ever ever want to live anything other than that, like forever. That's the life I want to live. There was a time we were in Sorrento overlooking Capri and the whole Amalfi Coast, and I remember saying, I looked around, I said, "What the fuck are we doing in Long Island, New York? What the fuck are we doing? Life is simple out there." They didn't update a single thing. Cobblestone fucking streets, history. You're talking the beginning of time. Boys, I had the fucking time of my life. I went to Rome. The shit I saw in Rome blew my goddamn fucking balls off. It blew my balls off. Riggs, you wouldn't have believed what's over there. You wouldn't believe what's over there.
That's number one for me. That's probably number one. I like history. I like to drink. I like fucking pasta. I like all of it. So
food is so fresh. And like you hear everyone talk about it, like the food's fresh. Because how else are they going to get this produce? They don't even have the means. They don't have like the roads to get like a frozen box of pasta or seafood. Or like they have to make it that morning. They got no other option.
Fuck. Yeah, it's everything's a bit simpler. It's like, when can we drink and when can we eat?
You're just walking. I was there for so long that I started to become like acclimated to it. I felt normal. I woke up. We were in Florencia. We were walking around and I'm just looking around being like, this feels normal to me somehow, some way. The buildings are this close to each other with a little cobble road going in between and the cars are fucking whizzing through these streets. I've never seen cab drivers drive like this in my entire life. It's honestly not even worth talking about. You have to see it to believe it. You can't describe the driving over there in Italy aside from just looking at it. It's crazy. There's no stop signs. There's no fucking lights. They're just going into intersections and they're like honking at each other and screaming at each other and they just fucking make their way over there. It's crazy.
So, Frankie, last time we heard from you was the end of the Ryder Cup. We did a podcast, and then you essentially said, "See you later. I'm fucking done. I'm done with you guys. I'm done with all of it." That's the beginning of this 2-week honeymoon over in Italy. Start right from there. What happens the minute that you close that laptop, you shut your phone, you upload that shit to Alex Bush? What happens?
Getting from the Ryder Cup to my hotel in Rome was a nightmare. I thought I was just going to walk out of the gates and get an Uber. I was like, I'm just going to leave this golf course. Little did I know, 200,000 people were going to be doing the same thing. So I'm walking with people, a lot of foreign people, a lot of Italians, a lot of people from that side of the country, that side of the world. Didn't really find many Americans where I was walking at. So I'm not talking to anyone. Nobody's speaking English. And I'm just trying to find an Uber. Uber says there are none. There are no taxis. The taxi line was fucking miles long. At one point, some guy in English says, "No more taxis to like 1,000 people. No more. It's it. You're done. You have to find a way home." It was chaos. So now I'm in a country for the first time in my life. Hannah's at the hotel. I'm like, I don't know how I'm getting there. It was 15 minutes away. I have no idea. I end up just boarding a bus. to God knows where. I was just like, you got to get me to a city and then I'll be able to figure it out. I ended up getting to some part of Rome where then I found a couple guys from like Colorado and Minnesota, and they just took me under their wing and we took the subways of Rome, which felt very bizarre. It was like a New York City experience, just hopping on very crowded major subways. And every single stop was like Coliseum or like Roman Forum, and like all these like iconic historical locations were just subway stops. And I got off at the Spanish Steps, which is where our hotel was. And you get off, and this is like my first introduction. It's nighttime, the sun is setting, and I walk out of this subway. And usually you walk out to a subway and you get pissed on from a homeless person, or someone wants to stab you with like a fucking needle. I walked out and there was a tap dancing Italian fair happening right outside of the Spanish Steps, and people are going, "Ho, hey!" and everyone's drinking wine, and it's this square of old buildings and these huge steps, and I'm turning around. I felt like I was in a movie where you're like looking around up and the camera's swirling around you. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is it. This is what you envisioned. Italy is so stereotypically what you want it to be. It's everything you want it to be. And that's exactly the first thought I had is just, this is it. Like, it's perfect. So from there, we had a nice little hotel by Spanish Steps with overlooking the entire city of Rome. Essentially, it was like one of the higher parts of Rome by the Spanish Steps, our hotel. So our rooftop, we had breakfast every single morning. It was just so quiet up there, even though it's so populated down the streets. Amazing, amazing location. From Rome, we went down south, took the train, bullet trains. When I say bullet trains, these things look like bullets. You ever see the ones in Japan and China? They've got these things in Italy. They are bullet trains. I mean, Dan, you've probably taken these, right? When you went from France to Italy?
It just stuns you that we don't have them in the United States.
They go 1 billion miles an hour.
Yes. And then we get on the Amtrak and it's like a broken down subway.
And it's like $40 to get from Rome. And we went all the way down south to Sorrento. And that's where my life changed. Sorrento is where my life changed. We passed Mount Vesuvius on the way in, and you're like, all right, this is a little bit different. Rome, I'm skipping over Rome. Rome was incredible. We did tours. We went to the Coliseum. I cried. At one point, I walked around. I started tearing up because the tour guide that we had was so like invested and so into the history that she started to get choked up when we like walked through the Roman Forum, and she would show us pictures being like, you're standing right here. This is where Julius Caesar got cremated. Look at this circle, and that's where his ashes were. And you're just like, holy fuck. And it's sobering as shit because you're thinking to yourself, you're walking through ruins and you're like, at one point, this was the height of humanity right here.
For a long time.
It's for the longest time. They say that your tour guide's like, for 700 years, it's like 700. What are you talking about? Those numbers are insane. We have a president for every 4 years and it feels like a lifetime. Like, you're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of reign and fucking and domination. And then now it's just resorted to like me wearing New Balances, walking around, farting around on like a tour. Like, that's a sobering thought where it's like the height of civilization is now, look at this rock. It used to be a palace. Yeah. It's like, holy shit. So I was very into it. I was very, very into it. I really retained a lot of information. I took it very seriously. So Rome was incredible. It really was. The Colosseum is something that everyone has to see. The fact that they built that thing with no cranes and like modern technology is incredible. I mean, they had like pulley systems to lift animals up so that the crowd wouldn't see like what the next animal was up. So they had like a legit elevator that would bring an elephant out, and you could still see the elevator. It's still there. It's an amazing system. Yes, it took a lot of like slaves and people to be able to pull those things up, which is nuts. But it's a marvel.
Bad. We condemn slavery for sure.
Right, you have to, but like that's the only way that stuff got done.
It's just what happened.
You can't get away from it. Like all of these old like lessons and all that's just like, that's really what the root of it all was that they just basically like whipped people into making miraculous things happen, or else they wouldn't have happened. That's just like how they advanced. So that was crazy. And then from Rome, we went to Sorrento, and Sorrento was, I mean, just the most. I always thought that Pebble Beach and like Monterey Peninsula would be the most beautiful place my eyes ever laid eyes on. I'm like, I remember telling Trent and Riggs, like whenever we're there, I say, it can't get better than this. This is all that Earth has to offer. Beautiful greenery, an amazing ocean, cliffs, wine. This is it. And then you go to Sorrento, dude, and you fucking drink limoncello off the fucking leaves. And you're just like, what are we doing out here? Then we got a boat. This guy fucking Marco picked us up in a boat at our hotel. First of all, the hotel has an elevator that goes through the rocks, and then you walk out of the rocks, and then you have like a little dock that has all these places that you can lay down and drink. You're literally on the cliffs. Then this guy Marco picks us up, and I'm like, all right. He takes us to this place, Capri, dude. And Capri is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my entire life. I cried from beauty. He at one point, Marco goes, I'm going to take you around the backside of Capri. And when we make that turn, you're going to be overtaken by emotion. And that really got me going. And when we did, it's like Jurassic Park. It's all, so one side, you guys have probably seen the pictures, and it's like a postcard. It's all the buildings going up the mountain. And then the other side of Capri is like Jurassic Park. It's just nature, and there's cliffs, and all these rocks look like humans. And like, he has a story about every single one. He's like, that's Zeus. And then you look at it, and it's like Zeus holding a fucking, like, it's crazy. And he takes us out to all these lagoons and these caves. And I jumped into the water, and I swam under a cave and went through. So I jumped down. I basically dove and dived into this water, and I came out the other side, and I'm inside. Me and Hannah are inside this like coliseum of rocks with the sun coming down and just clear water, and it's just us. The whole world is gone, and we're just inside this cave with the crystal blue water you've never seen in your entire life, ever. You've never seen water like this in your entire life. And I'm looking around being like, there's no, it was a dream. That day was a dream. So the fact that people get to live out there is truly stunning. Capri was amazing. Then we went all the way up north, and we went to Florence for like 5 days. Florence and Tuscany, that's where I fell in love with the wine. I mean, I've always loved wine, Italian restaurant, the whole entire deal. Never have wine like this. I learned a lot. If there's a rooster on it, it's Chianti Classico. If you ever get a bottle of Chianti and there's a rooster on the bottle, it's Chianti Classico, and it's only allowed to be made in this certain region of Tuscany. No one else is allowed to make it. And there's all these rules about what makes a Chianti Classic, and they are the only ones that are allowed to do it. It has to be like 90% of the grapes that are grown exactly on those spots that we were there. So if you ever get a Chianti bottle that has a rooster, it's Chianti Classico region. It's an amazing bottle of wine. We really, really liked Florence. We were there for a long time. That's where I got to see the statue of David and that tiny cock, which I learned he may not have had a tiny cock. It's just that when they were sculpting these ancient gods and these Roman sculptures, they essentially would say that that man was not led by his cock and balls. He was led by his brain and his heart and his muscles. So he was bigger than his cock. You know what I'm saying?
He might have got dogged for all of eternity there. That's tough. That's tough.
I feel like at that point, just don't put the cock on the statue.
But with the way things went ever since then, he didn't know that was going to be a negative stigma in society.
Right.
That they
and Michelangelo, you learn about him, and like you're going to all these old churches, and like the fact that this guy was sculpting this stone at the age of 23, and he essentially would look at a block of stone, marble, and he'd say, "I could see this." So he wouldn't like sculpt around it. He would sculpt into the marble, and he said that he would reveal what is hiding inside. And that no one's ever been able to replicate that style of literally just going at it. And then they would show, like, there's a couple of them that he hasn't gotten done yet, and you see some of that he didn't get to finish. Not done yet. He's dead for a long time. He didn't get to finish.
Unfinished.
And it's just these like incredible sculptures inside a legit block, and he's just chiseling away, and you see the detail. It's just, he has like muscle twitches, and they're like, how did this guy know that, like, when you move this around, your shoulder kind of dips a little bit, and then you get a little vein at the edge of your elbow, and your hands start to kind of veiny and muscular, and all these things in between your thumbs. He did this all just from his brain. So that was amazing. I saw Leonardo da Vinci. I went to a room where all of his paintings
You saw
were.
him. What's he up to?
A Leonardo da Vinci display. That was amazing. Just like how that guy changed art. I felt like such an asshole learning about all these things, but it really blew me away. Like Leonardo da Vinci, like, realized that all these paintings had like bold outlines. And he's like, that's not how humans look. So he would take a thumb and he would kind of graze the edges, and you could see side by side. Raffaello's painting had a huge outline, like it was a child drew it. And then you see
Bum-ass.
Da Vinci's first one, and it was like, oh my God, that's where art changed. Then you learn about how like the church wouldn't let these guys paint the way that they wanted to. They're like, this is what Jesus looks like, and this is what Mary looks like. And then like Michelangelo came around and gave Mary like tits and nipples, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's insane. Like, why would he do that? And they're like, no, that's what women look like. That's like what women look like. They don't look like they used to show Jesus with a beard as a baby, because they said, oh, Jesus never wasn't like manly and perfect. And then then the Renaissance, they're like, no, he was a baby. He looked like a baby. And that's
just a baby.
Right. So that's what blew my
little
mind.
baby.
Florence was incredible. It had so much history, so much wine. And then we ended the goddamn trip. Then we ended the goddamn trip in Venice. And that's legitimately another world. That is not to be compared to anything else. All these other places, it's like, I'm sure you can go to Spain, you can go to Portugal, and you can find these like old cities with cobblestone and history and art and wine and food. And you're like, all right, I kind of get it. It's like Rome. It's like Florence. It's like, then you go to Venice, dude, and the whole place is on water. There's not a single road there, bro. It's all canals. I got picked up by a boat to go to the airport. Our entrance to our hotel was in the water.
Do they have boat Ubers, or is that
Yes,
Uber's not a
they
thing
got
in Venice?
taxis on the water, and you just hop in one. It's like $20, and he just drives you around. And there's old women like fucking drying out their fucking clothes outside the windows, and they're screaming at each other. And then I learned in Venice,
Glasses are off.
and then I learned in Venice that it's built on all these trunks. Right. So basically it was marshland, and all the buildings were, they realized back in the fucking Venetian days, like the first settlers of Italy, like the first ones way back in the day, they realized that if they put these wood trunks in the ground, that no oxygen would get around them, and they would never decay because there's no oxygen hitting this wood. So they would be able to go all the way into the ground. They'd be like the structure of all these buildings, and it's still the same fucking wood to this day. So the fact of this matter is that if they play loud music in Venice, or like if you have a party in Venice and you have a big bass, right? Like Steve Aoki comes to Venice and he's fucking ripping bass, you're going to get arrested, maybe shot, because those vibrations are going to break the bass of Venice, and it will crumble. It will crumble. There's no music to be played that's like has loud bass. You're not allowed to have like a speedboat that runs around the edges of the canals, because that will like bring in oxygen and it will ruin. Bro, there are towers and all of these clocks that are legitimately leaning like this in Venice, because the bottom is just breaking and they can't fix it. You can't fill it up with cement because there's no base to it. It's just wood. It's water. It's nuts.
Sounds
Venice,
like that's not going to be around for that much longer.
We had a tour guide,
sounds
this
like a
guy,
little
Carlos.
earthquake or something. It's over.
Right. He was essentially like, the next generation like just has to do like we don't like, he's like, it's up to you guys, like it's up to you guys with like the environment and like just like rules and laws.
Figure
like,
it out.
He's like, if you don't figure it out, it's gone. So it was amazing. We had like just no stress. I didn't really look at my phone aside from taking incredible photos. My photos were I was just having the time of my life taking videos and photos over there. And it feels good. It just feels real good. I saw the weight conversation. I don't know what I didn't listen to the podcast. I don't know what you guys all guessed, because I don't think that was included in the graphic. I think it's going to be stunning to you guys. I don't think I gained much weight. I did weigh myself.
That'd be good for me. Oh wow.
I did weigh myself.
I forget what I guessed. Fuck.
I saw a lot in the 170s. I saw some tweets of people saying I was going to be in the 180s. That was fucking nuts. Because you got to remember, too, you're walking. Dude, in Rome, I walked 20,000 steps a day.
Well, the big thing is we didn't know what you weighed to begin with.
I was 166 to start.
Okay.
I like my chances then, because I believe I was the most pro Frankie flattering.
So what are you now?
I'm 168.9.
Oh, yeah, you're a skinny boy. So
Come on.
169 is the answer.
Yeah, 169.
Yeah.
I think that's
remember what I
right.
guessed.
You had 73, I think.
I said
Riggs.
72 or 73.
Rick's at
You guys were off.
172, so he wins.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Dude, you don't gain that much weight there. You're eating and then you're walking, and like the food isn't like filling.
The food
I ate
is
prosciutto
good.
every single day.
That's what my takeaway was like, even being in France and Italy, like I felt like I ate a lot, but you just feel better. And my poops were a lot solider for 10 days because there's less shit in the food.
The other thing, no hangovers. Not a single hangover. Not one.
See,
I don't-
that's
there-
crazy to me.
That's the honeymoon. I think
Bro,
that's just.
we just weren't drinking like wine here has. I must drink like cheap wine, right? So like wine here to me has that like artificial
Sulfates.
aftertaste. That's that very like bitter. At the end of it, you're like like you drink a whole bottle and you're like, man, I'm gonna feel that tomorrow. For some reason in Italy, it was so refreshing and so clean and so maybe it's like the placebo effect. You're there and you're just not waking up with hangovers. But I truly, genuinely felt like after eating a really big meal and having a bunch of wine, I felt really good after. We were there for 13 days. I had gelato 11 days in a row. And I had prosciutto every single morning and afternoon. So I woke up, had breakfast, and prosciutto was there. And then I had a sandwich, a panini, every single day, 13 straight days.
Wow.
Gained 2 pounds.
Did you enjoy the extra cash from the Ryder Cup payout?
That came at the 15th. That came right when we landed. That was a nice little. That was
wow.
Danny Rapp put on his. I was basically like an IRS guy chasing down these fucking finance people, being like, "Where's my money?" It took a while. I
was
finally
amazing.
chased it down for the boys.
That was amazing. We did. We also went to the Vatican in Rome, and that was pretty wild. But the lines there, if you don't have a tour, my biggest thing would be like if you're trying to see these things, pay for like these extra tours. It's almost like going to Disney and not getting the fast pass. I can't imagine waiting online to go into the Vatican and like end up seeing what it is. It's like super cool. The cathedrals are incredible, but these people are waiting a day to get in if they don't have like a regular like tour pass. It's nuts, like a full day. They're there for like 7 hours waiting to get into this church just to look around and be like, wow, it's insane. Like you're waiting.
That's got to feel awful too, because there's so many things that you could be seeing in Italy as a whole that just standing in line for a day would.
So
what was crazy to me too is it's not just the Roman ruins, which are obviously super incredible, but like
ruins?
St. Peter's, or I went to this other church, and I remember what it was called. The churches that they built like in the 1600s and the 1700s, still there was no electricity,
right?
And they managed to build these things with like the gold roofs, and it's like how the patient and these things took 60, 70 years to build. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh yeah, I'm working on it. I probably won't finish it done, but my son will see it when it's finished. There was just a patience.
We were getting brought around the Vatican, and at one point he stopped us and he goes, okay, the next room is the Sistine Chapel. And this is Michelangelo's greatest creation. And there's no walking, there's no speaking. It's a room of silence, and there is no photography or videography, right? So he's getting us hyped up. I'm like, this is gonna be the most spiritual, maybe life-changing experience of my entire life. I'm gonna walk into this room and something's gonna happen. So we walk up these steps, and he's telling us these steps are the steps that all the ancient, like every single person that basically walked into the Vatican, like that of importance, walked up these steps to go into the Sistine Chapel. They were like private steps. So you're walking up, you're about to make the left, and then you just turn in the corner into the Sistine Chapel, and it's a zoo. It's a fucking zoo. There's 30,000 people inside there, and everyone's screaming. They're screaming. Tour guides are yelling at people to get into the middle and move.
I thought it was a quiet room.
They lied. So then I'm just talking in there. I'm like, wow, look at the ceiling. I'm talking like an idiot. I'm taking selfies in there. That's probably not supposed to be talked about, but I'm like, they ruined it for me. They ruined the experience. When I made that turn, I thought this is going to be something, and it wasn't. The place is just filled with tourism. Of course, I was there. I was being a tourist, and you also realize that like they love the tourism there in every single city because that's their main source of income. That's it. That's what they do. They do tours. They drive people around. Every single city you go to has something to do. We did a cooking class in Sorrento. I made gnocchi with this guy Cristiano. This guy Cristiano fucking just has such a great business. He's got a family of 10. They all live in the same house. The grandfather, the aunts, the uncles, everyone, they live in this huge house overlooking Sorrento. And then he turned his kitchen. He's like a younger generation guy of this family. Turned this kitchen into a experience where he picks up people from their hotel. There was about 12 of us. He got us there. And then he's like, he's got the whole thing. Arrivederci. And he's like just talking. And he's, where are you from? And it's a whole entire show on the way there. He's playing music and he's loving us. And then he teaches us how to make gnocchi and sauce and tiramisu, and everything's so fresh. And you're walking through his house and his grandfather's picking stuff for the olive oil. And then you can buy the olive oil at the end. I was so amazed by this kid that he said he basically went to like a business school and was like, I'm going to bring it to my old world Italian family. It was probably a hard sell to them. And now they're killing it. They're absolutely killing it.
I mean, that's you on this side of the pond. That's you with
Right.
the tap room. That's like
Mhm.
that's
Right.
your story.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it definitely took a little bit more convincing for them than for Cristiano than for my
Sure.
dad. My dad loves this shit, but it was an amazing experience, guys. I don't have to talk about it I've already been talking about it for 25 minutes, so it's great to be back. It's great to be back.
It's very cool. It's like I felt this a little bit in Maui, and it's not a different country, but it's a different part of the world where you just see people live in a way where you can't believe that people are living like that and you're living the way that you're living. Like that was always my takeaway, where it's like, and that can be positive or negative. Like you go to a place like Italy, you go to a place like Maui, and it's great, and you're like, I could live like this every day. Or you go to places where things aren't so great, and you're like, it's great that I get to live the way that I do. It's just, I think when you get caught in your own world, everybody does, where it's like, this is the rat race. I live in America. I live in New York. I go to the city. I do this. And then you go to fucking Sorrento and you're like, there's people living like this every day, and I'm living the way that I'm living. It's good to travel. It's good to just get different perspectives on everything.
I had kind of a similar experience this week. Obviously, not anywhere near the same as going to Italy, but I went to San Francisco this week, and let me tell you, the media that I consume does not paint a very positive picture of San Francisco.
Sure.
We'll just put it that way. So I'm expecting to go there and see like homeless people everywhere and be like a decrepit city where everything's broken down. I had a great time. Emma and I rented these go-karts, which I have no idea how they were street legal. And we were basically riding go-karts throughout the city around the Golden Gate Bridge. That city, it was a nice day. And I'm not saying that there aren't homeless people, and I'm not saying that their policies aren't great. But living in California, man, I am so excited. Just the natural beauty is something that we kind of forfeit here in New York State. Like San Francisco is not nearly as beautiful as the Italian coast, but it's got a little bit of that Pebble Beach in it. It's got a little bit of those Monterey Cypress streets, which I now have tattooed on my arm. It's got a little bit of that sea air. It's just
new. That's a new tattoo.
Yeah, I have a new one.
It's got
on my arm, but I don't really want to get it out right now. But saying, like, it's there's a lot of there's a big world
to get it out. Right?
So,
what
tree did you get?
What are we doing here?
Yeah, move it a little. There you go.
So
is
that a cypress tree? Didn't we learn that that's
tree.
not the cypress tree? Isn't there another name for that?
Tell me you got it wrong. Tell me you got the wrong
I don't remember
tree.
what the
I
exact-
need that right now.
The story behind this is actually pretty funny. So Shane Bacon has a logo business that he like designs logos for golf courses, and I've been wanting to get this tree for a while because I love these trees, but I couldn't find the right one. I didn't want to get the one from Cypress Golf Club because that would be just like a caricature of myself. So he posted a thing being like, here are some designs that we didn't publish for an old, or that we didn't, an old client didn't use. And then I just saw one. I was like, cool. I like that one a lot. Yep. And then that was the one I went with. But what I was saying was natural beauty and going to places where it looks different than your own place. That's the spice of life. I had a great time in San Francisco.
Yeah. And I definitely realized, like, there was times where I was saying to myself, why are people leaving here and going to America? And then I'm seeing all of the hotels and the glitz and the glamour.
Right, you're on the tourist side.
I'm on the tourist side of it. I'm at the best hotel in the town. I'm getting picked up by Marco. He's taking me to Capri. And like, you look at Capri and you're like, look at this place. You're taking photos in front of it. And then you like sometimes zoom in on one window and you're like, that might be a whole family in there that just like can't make their way out of Capri. And they just like, they're leather boot makers. And they're just like, there's not enough here for us to survive and like really have the life that we want to live. Our kids are going to have the same life. We have to make, our bloodline advance and all the whole entire deal. I get that. That was starting to hit me towards the end of the trip where it's like, it's definitely different. Even driving around my town and Long Island now, it's like, we have it so much different than them. I mean, you can get anywhere here in a second compared to what they can do. They can't leave that island for years sometimes based off their income or whatever. They can't even get the boat to get off that place. So it's an amazing place. It really is. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing place. I didn't want to leave. I am happy to be back. I was starting to get tired, but
electric vehicles, there's a ton on this show about history, an amazing amount about history, about innovation, about science, about how it is even feasible that the folks 2,000, 3,000 years ago built magical structures with art that we couldn't even come within one iota of building today. And we're talking about, go fast forward 2,000 years. And here's our friends at Chevy, who, by the way, they've been making cars for 100 years. So we talk about history. They've been making cars for 100 years. They've been making electric vehicles. I didn't even know electric vehicles was a term. I didn't know it was even a thought process for 10 years. but Chevrolet, Chevy.com/electric. They've been making electric vehicles for 10 years, boys and girls.
2,000 years, I think people are going to be talking about Chevrolet. I'd put my money on it. We talked a little bit about that on the podcast, like what is going to sustain from our lifetime to the future, like the Coliseum. I think it's Chevy. I think it's their vehicles. Whichever way they have to go. Right now, we're going to electric, but whatever it is in the future, Chevy is going to figure it out and adapt. And I really, truly believe that.
That bow tie, it's iconic. It's going to be iconic in thousands of years. We talked about logos and the history of logos on this show before. That's one that just has staying power. Chevrolet's got over 1,900 certified electric vehicle dealerships and over 5,550 EV trained technicians. They've been in the electric vehicle game for a very, very long time. It's true you have less routine maintenance on electric vehicles, but if you need maintenance on your Chevy EV, they've got technicians like you wouldn't believe that are EV certified. So do yourself a favor, do us a favor, do Chevy a favor, do everybody a favor, and learn more at Chevy.com/electric. That website right now that you should go to is Chevy.com/electric. One of my takeaways from what you were saying was like when you're talking about the art and their attention to detail on sculpting the human body and how one vein or muscle will move. And it's insane to me how in the human brain for centuries and centuries and millennia didn't have all of these distractions that we have. And it just people focused on their craft or were required to learn from their surroundings and be present. Well, no, but like, they talk about all of the like the sailors in the like Polynesian islands back in the day and how they could literally, and they did, write like from memory and create these maps of the stars down to, thousands of stars that they could see and use those as navigation, and how they were better at that navigating than anybody now could possibly navigate their way around, even with Google Maps, and how when you're required to be dependent upon your brain and knowledge and learning about your surroundings and your craft, like how much more impressive your output can be and your retention of knowledge can be versus now, where for the most part, like if we get somebody like an Elon Musk, these people who actually like know a lot about something, we're like blown away because we don't know anything about anything because we just rely basically on our phone or on our TV, or we could tell you like, who was one of the key characters in like the third season of The Sopranos, but like we don't know, like we don't actually fucking know anything about anything.
Dude, they have a clock in Venice in the main square, which is an incredible square, and you learn all about like how it evolved in Venice, and like it's incredible. But there's this clock tower that they built hundreds of years ago that will tell you the time. It'll show you the moon and like what type of moon it is, and then it will also move around all of the stars, and you'll be able to tell what month it is based off of the
it's
star.
not electricity. That's
it's not electricity. Part. And then every like January 14th every year at like 12 o'clock, like a little song and dance happens outside the clock. It comes out and it's just like supposed to be like their celebration, and it only happens once a year. So what are those gears that are happening in there? How is that possible? Someone tell me that.
Could you imagine like the craftsmanship and the knowledge and the engineering genius?
The advancements that we've gone through in our lifetimes are largely technological, and it's a lot of electricity. And it's like, look, I have a whole computer in my phone, and it's cool, but it's less like, I don't know, it's less tangible. Like those things that they were creating, it was like, I'm doing this without electricity, without like, it's all like because I'm good at this and I can go in there and mess with it to the point where it's going to be perfect. Now I don't even understand what's going on. They're like, like chips in my phone. I don't know what the fuck that shit is.
That's what once you added computers, there was like a magic element, and there's like no it's just craftsmanship with what they were doing. So like the aqueducts is an incredible example of like over 2,000 years ago, they were pumping all of this water over thousands of miles into the city of Rome so that people had running water in their homes. And that has nothing to do with, there was none of that magic piece. It was just a mastery of physics and of geology.
Dude, the Coliseum had
Coliseum lives up to it. It exceeds it.
The Coliseum had bathrooms and concession stands. You're talking about something that was built in like the year 70, right? Like that's fucked up. That's fucked up. It was also used as like a home, a palace at one point. The Coliseum really went through a lot of different phases, which I never knew, which was pretty interesting. Like the inside of it was really used for a lot of things throughout its entire life, and an earthquake is really what did the damage to it. So that was pretty interesting. And then the whole thing was built out of stone and marble, and they took throughout the years. This was the other thing that kept getting me is it's really hard to preserve historical things like that because you're not thinking about 2,000 years in the future. So I was trying to think of like, why would they take all the marble and the stone off of the Colosseum? They ruined it, right? And then you're thinking like, whatever emperor was there and then like had the Colosseum at his disposal isn't thinking about like preserving this building on his land. He's like, oh, they have a bunch of marble there. Like whatever we're doing right now, we need that. Take that off and we're going to use it somewhere else. You're not thinking about the tour that's going to happen in 2023.
He's trying to not get his head chopped off by the
correct.
snake.
Totally.
And it's amazing that throughout all of those things and those changes, they describe Rome as like a lasagna, and there's all these layers. And it's all built on top. And as you keep building down, as you keep breaking it down, you see all the history. It's amazing to me that some things are even still standing because of how many different power struggles have been there through that time and how many different people had control of all of these historical artifacts that they could have just been like, who cares? Like when I see something, like if I see something in the street, I'll just pick it up and throw it. If I left that there for 2,000 years, that's a historical artifact. But we just like, we just touch everything and we move everything and we don't preserve anything. But over there, they're like, they keep it. When you live in a town like Rome, you can't like update your house. You can't put new shingles on the outside of your house. You can't, they want it to be, you have to live within what the city is calling for. Like you have to have a cobblestone house. You can't touch that shit. That's just, you're living in history.
You can't build some like American ranch right there.
No,
in the middle
that's not happening. Oh, I want to build a podcast studio. Like, no, no.
I think I mentioned it before, but I took like some elective in college that was an architectural history class. And one of the most interesting tidbits from the whole deal was, they talk about how in Rome, you will see all of a sudden these incredible Spanish columns that build some iconic buildings, or you'll see some in Portugal, you'll see some Roman, like marble, and you'll be like, people will be like, where the fuck? And it's because when they would get conquered by X people, they would take over that city. And then when they returned home, they would grab the coolest shit that they had and be like, we're taking this with us. And they would go home back to Rome from Madrid or wherever the hell they were in those times, back to Rome and take the Spanish, whatever with them and be like, this next sick cathedral that we're building with your guys' fucking columns. These are sweet. Right?
Yes.
Like they just did
that. Was really cool.
Like all over the place.
Dude, so Trent, when I was in Rome, you posted something in Washington Square Park. It's the George Washington Monument in New York City. And it's the huge columns that kind of connects in the middle. I forget.
It's like an arch. Yeah.
It's an arch. And the day that you posted that, I was in Rome that morning looking at the arches that are there in the Roman Forum, and they're all built towards, and I had just learned like whenever a next ruler would be in place, he would build an arch for like the past one, like Julius Caesar would get one, and the one after him. That was the thing. Like, oh, thanks for dying, but we're gonna give you this cool arch. Like, and the way that the tour guide was basically being like, that was like your biggest thing that you could get is this arch in the Roman Forum. And then I saw you there in New York City. I'm like, oh wow, we built one for George Washington, our first president. Like that was a pretty cool callback to Roman history, I thought.
That's sick. That's really
that
sick.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it makes you think too, like how, like the Romans, if they would have kind of kept going, they were close, right?
Yep.
Like it makes you think from 70, AD, if they're building aqueducts and coliseums, how did it take 1900 years for them to get to Henry Ford in the automobile? And like they were not that, right? Like it could have taken a few fucking people that just thought about it differently that could have gotten there in 200 AD or something. And somehow you're like, we went through, you obviously went through like the medieval times and things were not innovating. And then there's the Renaissance and all that. And we eventually got there. But those motherfuckers were so close to just taking that next step that imagine where we would be now. If 1900
we just had bad people in place that were like, that didn't want to advance it. That's what you learn there. It's like the Renaissance is so amazing because finally these guys like Michelangelo and Raffaello, they were like, we're going to paint with color, even though the church for the last 400 years says you have to paint in these colors. And this is what Mary and Jesus have to look like. And he has to have a beard. And they're like, we're never going to advance. We're just doing what our last generation did. No, there is no advancement for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then finally you have some people that are just like, fuck this. We're going to paint with color. We're going to show these ancient Roman statues. We're going to show cocks again. We're going to do all these things. And that's how we got to the car. That's how we got to Chevy, is we showed cocks.
Coffee had a huge role. Coffee had a huge role in this. I was reading about this because
Espresso over there. They don't have coffee.
Up until and it's like a euro, right, or like a half a euro. It's like crazy how cheap it is.
Yeah, but Italy's
we
expensive.
Couldn't
That's
get
something
coffee. Trent, where were we that we couldn't get real coffee?
Australia.
Australia. Oh,
they don't do drip.
But yeah, in the like right before the Renaissance, people started drinking coffee. And it changed the world because before everyone was like just drinking wine or ale all day and they were all like kind of vaguely drunk. And then people started drinking coffee and they were like, oh my God, this makes me want to sit around and talk about ideas and talk about progress. And it changed the world.
Like, what's Madison Square Garden going to look like in 2,000 years?
We're gonna tear it down because they can't win a championship in there, right? And then we're gonna move it somewhere because they want to have a open air garden for Penn Station because we're spending too much money on tickets and no one wants to walk under low ceilings.
Right. Yeah, because you said they didn't think about, like the Romans with the Coliseum, they didn't think about that it was going to be there for a long time, but they built it to last. They're like, we're going to build this in a way where it's going to last. Now we just build things and tear it down and it's not that big a deal.
That was something that really was striking me as well, was like they had the idea that they wanted to make their place extremely beautiful. And I guess we do this in the same way, right? We renovate our own houses, we renovate buildings. It's just so modern looking that you don't have that feeling. Like the Sistine Chapel, like why did the Pope at that time want Michelangelo to paint this like incredible 4-year-long painting on this ceiling? Like every room was so beautifully done. Like it's almost like they had the idea that like it was going to be there forever. You know what I mean? Like they had this inclination that we have to make this like once in a lifetime art in this room and in this palace because it's going to live on forever. I feel like we don't have that to ourselves anymore.
No.
Like we don't even have that idea or that thinking.
You don't think that's the same thought process behind the Nest in Hudson Yards?
It might be.
Right. It's yeah, like
I mean, maybe like they built like the New World Trade Center with like the thought it was going to last like forever. They're saying like
I think it's hard to think of glass that way.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
You know, like you think something's built in stone and it's incredible, and you don't know, stone feels like it's forever, and glass just feels like you get a
glass. Like if it just gets covered in dust, glass stinks. Like if you just didn't have window cleaners for like 5 years, or like the New York City would look ridiculous. It would look like it does in I Am Legend.
There is a part of the Sistine Chapel that they leave. I think we didn't have our tour guide in there because he was still abiding by the no talking, even though all the other tour guides were just talking in there.
Too good of a guy.
I was listening to.
He's the moral compass of the Sistine Chapel.
I was listening to another tour guide just speak in there, and he was describing. I think he was saying in the top right corner there's a really dark spot, and it goes on a little bit onto the canvas, onto the pillar, and a little bit on. And I think they leave that to show what it would look like if it wasn't cleaned and preserved, because it is way darker and you actually can't even see anything there. It's like so dirty and so withered that the preservation of this stuff is incredible. Yeah. The people that work there every single day and like they take out the little brushes and they fucking preserve these things because the colors pop, man. Somehow, some way, from thousands and hundreds of years, these colors look like they were just painted there. And that's another thing that really blew my mind. When we're in America and we see art, it's mostly brought there. Oh, like look, you're in the museum and you're like, look at this Michelangelo sculpture, or look at this thing. It's in like Washington D.C. or it's in New York City. That doesn't really resonate with me. It's like, all right, it's something that I read in the history books. When you're there in the Vatican at the Statue of David, you can actually picture the guy. And this is our tour guide was getting me like all emotional. He goes, picture Raffaello in this room right here, painting this on this wall. Yeah, on this wall. He's here. He's not, This was not brought here. He was here in the year whatever. And he was painting and you're seeing it. You could touch it. It's there.
Right. They didn't move it. They didn't move at least the Sistine Chapel. It's just there, dude. He's just there in that room. Yes. He's like, look up at Michelangelo. He's like, he's on his back painting for years. He goes, imagine the neck paint. It's like, holy fuck.
So how much of the trip was like hardcore touring and how much of it was like kick the feet up and look at the view?
Sorrento was a lot of view. Florence was like half view. Rome was a lot of touring and walking around and eating and like really getting into like the history of it. And then Venice was just on boats the whole time, whether it was gondola or whatever. We were just constantly on boats. We also had, so Hannah's a identical twin. So my sister-in-law and brother-in-law came with us as well. They got married during COVID. They never went on a honeymoon. They were like, we're just going to wait for you guys. We're all going to go to Italy. So like we're staying in hotels and we're like meeting for dinner and then we're meeting for tours and everything was so having them
That's
there
awesome.
was amazing because you have 4 people. We're all super tight. To be able to like experience that with a whole group as opposed to, I mean, like me and Hannah would have been great, but like you need more people sometimes when you're there for 2 weeks. That was really one of my favorite parts is like being able to like, we were just way more adventurous and like just walking around the town and like just everything closes there. It's not, I'm a big, like, let's go out and have shots. And like, when I'm like really fucking feeling it, I want to keep it going. And Italy shuts that shit down, man. They are in bed by 9-10 o'clock. They really are. They're just like, we don't want any of that shit. We got work
You didn't go to
do in the
Milan,
morning.
right?
We did not go to Milan. No.
Yeah, from what I gather, Milan's like the modern city. That's
okay,
like
I could see that.
Yeah, more of like a financial center. So it probably would have felt like more like that. But that's not what you were after, really.
No, I actually liked that it was like dead quiet on our walks back to the hotel. It felt like we were closing down every single city. It was really, really cool, man. I would definitely recommend it to anyone and everyone listening. You guys, every single person, make that your next trip. I'm telling you right now.
Golf's about having a good time. That's it. That's why we're out there. Yeah, you're trying to play well. You'd love to play well. You'd love to beat people. You're competitive, sure. But at the end of the day, you're out there. You're taking time off work from the family, whatever it might be. You want to have a good time. Maybe nothing's going to make you have more of a good time, enhance the experience, ramp it up more than Fireball whiskey, that iconic cinnamon flavor, fellas.
It just adds a whole layer of electricity to the golf round. You bring out the Fireball, maybe do a birdie shot, a par shot, depending on your skill level. Everyone
Net
buys
par
it.
Shot,
net par. Yeah, you can. You do double bogey
Fun.
shot if you're really just starting out. There's no rules on the birdie shot. It's called birdie shot. It's more of a spirit of the birdie shot. So you bring these out on the golf course. You take them. Doesn't matter. Now it's getting a little cooler out on the golf course. Especially out here in the Northeast.
Good
Get
point.
those 48 degrees mornings. Nothing will warm you up quickly like a Fireball shot.
Yeah, I got to do a whole. I could tell how tense Alex Bush was last night during the Buffalo Bills game because I was chirping him that I heard at the beginning of the round or beginning of the game. They were like, "Oh, this is the coldest NFL game to date. 48 degrees at kickoff. It was 94 degrees here in Scottsdale." So I texted him 48 degrees, LOL, and he was like, "You think 48 degrees is cold? That's not even cold. I can't believe you think that's cold." I was like, "All right, just relax. I get that the game's going. You guys haven't scored a fucking point yet. Just chill out. Buffalo's a cold place." But to your point, Dan, that Fireball, it does hit a little nicer in October and November when you take one of those bad
100%.
boys down on the golf course. Fireball's got the 50 milliliter shooters, are the perfect shot for the golf course. Throw a bunch in your bag. They're ready to go whenever you need them. Plus, no shot glass, no chaser, none of that needed. You just crack those Fireball shooters back, bang, you're ready to go. If you're really feeling like upping the ante on the course this weekend, make sure to grab a 10-pack of Fireball shooters. That's a 10-pack Fireball whiskey. Grab those Fireball shooters. Did you guys buy and send a bunch of wine home?
Yes, we did. We went to
Ooh.
2 different wineries, and we spent quite a bit of time there. And then we bought 16 bottles or whatever, and we sent them back. Yeah, because you have to buy them in shipments of 6 and then 3 after that. And we got a bunch of olive oil we sent back. Oh my God, just the olive oil there is and the balsamic vinaigrette is so good, man. Just the bread, every single meal. It's so fun. I'll never have pasta like that again. And my family has 2 restaurants. I'll never eat pasta like that in my entire life. It's
So you think the
al
pasta,
dente.
the pasta there beats the best, like the Isodis or all the best.
I mean, I'm
restaurants?
sure the best of the best anywhere. America has incredible food. I still think we have the better pizza, if we're being honest.
Really?
I had some good pizza there. There was one place in Rome that I really liked the pizza. Aside from that, it was like that airy Neapolitan pizza. It was good. It was definitely good. I got prosciutto on it every single time, so I was just picking the prosciutto off. But it's just it's really good quality dough. It doesn't have that crunch. I'm always looking for that crunch.
It's incredible that we perfected the least healthy eat with your hands version of their food. We were we're going to focus on this one.
Sally's
pineapple
pizza
on
dominates anything you're going to have in Italy. That's just a fact. But their seafood and the way that they prepare their food and their pasta is unmatched. Truly unmatched.
So our guy Jimmy from Lisi Italian in Pinehurst, him and his wife Mickey are taking off today to go to Italy for I think like 11 days or something like that. And he's a huge wine guy. He's a huge Italian wine guy. He's, he goes to these tastings and then orders a bunch of the wine for his restaurant. And he's doing something really cool, which is one of the days that they're there, they're doing a wine, like a winery tour at the place that he's been ordering 4 different SKUs of wine from for like 5 years. It's like some of his favorite wine, and he's never been there before. So the people that he's been ordering from and talking to and the whole deal, he's going, and they were essentially talking about how while they're there, they're obviously going to send an unbelievable amount of wine back from all the different places that they go to, which is
we were getting into the olive oil and the balsamic a little bit more than we were the wine, to be honest. You could tell the difference. It was aged and it was incredible. Yeah. The olive oil was something that I was really, really, every table, they kind of threw it on there. Like, this is just a precursor to the wine. I'm like, we're going to get double of this, actually. We're going to double up on that and the bread and the salami and all that bullshit.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
You just got to travel. Traveling's a good thing.
It
I've got the itch to go to London. Who's been to London? We should all just go to London.
I went to London. London's my favorite city I've been to.
I want to go to that bad.
I went there last year with Emma for 5 days, where we just stayed in London. We didn't do like a multiple trip. We just did like London for 5 days. The best.
Yeah.
Like
I went to
like
London
New York
with
all the cool stuff.
Gaz
but
is who I went
way
to
more
London with.
Parks, like the open spaces in London, are amazing.
I legit took a red eye from Boston with Gaz, social media Gaz, sales guy Gaz, and I had bought a USA onesie, and it was the night of the Brexit vote, and everybody was all the odds were that they were going to vote to stay, and we were going to go film a video basically if they left. And the whole concept was to be like, oh, you guys finally decided on independence. You're 200 years late, whatever. And it was going to be funny. I was going to be the American guy, but they were going to vote to stay. So we were trying to come up with ideas. Took a flight, like 6 hours, no Wi-Fi. So then we land, and the prime minister had resigned. They had voted to leave, and it was fucking chaos. And so we went straight. We went to the Buckingham Palace. We went to the London Bridge. We went all over the place. And then at night, we went out a little bit. There was like a Welsh, Ireland, I think Wales, Ireland, like Euro Cup game that was on, and we went to a Welsh bar, and we were only there for a couple days, and we were filming for a lot of it. But I remember the takeaway, we both were like, dude, London is fucking sick. The only thing that wasn't amazing about London was the food, and that might have been because I think Gaz wanted to go to TGI Fridays or something, so that's where we went for dinner the one time. But even other people said, like, yeah, we're not really known for our food, but the cleanliness of the city, the fact that they built it with like alleyways in mind so that there's not trash everywhere like in New York City, and like the red buses and the phone booths and the whole deal. London was really, really cool. High recommend.
Gotta travel. Look, I actually pulled up this
around there too.
This was that thing, Michelangelo's unfinished statue, and you can see it's like this muscular, incredible body is in the middle of the stone.
Right, and it wasn't like he was working off like a picture of someone's like abs. No. Like he had such a knowledge of the human body and how it moves.
It's in there. He said that God put these sculptures in there. And it's just my idea to take. It's my burden to release these sculptures.
That's the thing. Art, and people will start rolling their eyes about art, but when you get like to the beginning of art, and they like, that's when it gets cool. Like you were saying with the outlines and like how it changes from one guy to the next. Because when you think about it, like art, and you show people pictures, you're like, oh, somebody painted that. Like I can buy paint and I can start painting. But it's the little differences, and like the statue of David with the muscles twitching. Like that's when the shit gets super cool.
Yeah,
and different.
They moved the statue. The statue of David was originally in this square, and the pigeons over there in Italy are out of control, man. They're they'll just fly right over your head and just shit on you and scratch you. They're all over the place. But they actually, the pigeon shit was decaying the statue of David. And at some point, some people like throughout its time were like trying to hit it with a hammer or whatever. So they moved that thing somehow, some way, with all these little cracks and veins in it. Whenever marble gets like veins.
Imagine having that job. Like, hey, normally we just move people from apartment to apartment. Today we're moving the statue of David. So just get ready for that.
Well, they moved it into this part on the other side of Florence.
Big day. And
it was like such a hard thing that they have never moved it since. And I think that was hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So I don't know if they will ever move, but it's amazing.
Because it's huge, right? The statue of David's huge. Because I'm picturing it as a guy who has not been there. It's like, it's me, but it's a statue. But it's huge, right?
It's like, I don't want to put a number to it, but I'd say it's like 20, 25 feet tall.
I'm going to look it up.
I'd say it's 25 feet tall. It's huge.
I'm going to say bigger.
17.
17
tall.
feet.
17 feet. That's pretty fucking big for a guy with a chisel
Yeah.
chiseling that thing.
That's crazy.
Go watch a video. Everyone, watch a video on YouTube of a man sculpting marble using old world tools. You're not going to believe it. There's a video on YouTube. It's like the first one that pops up, and you are legitimately taking a little pickaxe and you're just hammering away. And then when you see the final product that Michelangelo and all these guys were able to do, mind blowing. I'm out here playing NHL 24 and fucking like trying to like get my EASHL team up. Crazy.
It's incredible how collectively powerful art is, and it makes me think of how sad everyone was when the Cathedral of Notre Dame was on fire. And remember all of those images and people weeping, and like it's like one of those, you can hear about all kinds of tragedies and you have a reaction to it, obviously, but that one, it felt like there was a doom and gloom around the whole world when we were just watching that thing burn, because you can't recreate it. It's like this time capsule back into history. It's like when you're in there, you feel like you're with the people that were building it. And man, I just was like thinking about that. I was trying to think about, like, when you're talking about moving the statue, of the worst like calamities that I can remember of with old art, and that one, when that thing was on fire, it just felt so fucking sad.
I think now it's like when regimes will fall, like in the Middle East, they'll burn all the art, and it's like, fuck. That's when it's really, really bad.
ISIS in Iraq a couple years
ISIS
ago.
was doing
I
that.
remember
that. They were going into museums and just like and breaking everything, and people were fucking rattled about that.
Fuck, man. Fuck.
That can't happen. That can't happen anymore. It's so cool. That stuff is so cool to preserve.
The stuff that we have is like such a there's such a small percentage of what has actually existed. Most of the stuff doesn't make
So
it.
what's
I
what's
know.
our Leonardo da Vinci and what's our statue of David? Like, is it the iPhone?
What about that bean in Chicago? That thing's
No, but
pretty
is it
cool.
like
You know,
Anish
people are
Kapoor,
into
maybe?
that.
Is it legitimate? Like Steve Jobs is our Michelangelo, and
That's what I
It's
mean.
kind of.
yeah.
I would say like Mount Rushmore. You know, no, is that
But
too
that's
like
too.
campy?
That's like you're trying to like. I
It's
think
also
you're trying
like-
to find like carving. I think like I'm talking about like the best
Right.
thing
Like,
that
those
they
guys
could
were
have
inventors,
created. I
too.
guess right. Like
That's
I don't
what I
know.
was
Like,
saying
what's
before
like our
about how
Marvel?
there's-
What's our Marvel? Is
How
it like
you
a
just
warship?
lose-
Mount Rushmore is a little too commercial too, if we're being honest with each other. It's like
Okay.
it's kind of ridiculous.
We do a
It's
Mount
like,
Rushmore of best Mount Rushmore type thing.
best Mount Rushmore.
So you're saying
takes.
nothing that was built. You're saying no buildings, no Capitol building, no like Empire
He's not
State
saying
Building.
that stuff's out, but it's like those guys, like Michelangelo, and like Leonardo da Vinci are like these iconic historical figures who transcended their time through art and through invention. Like they had thousands of inventions. Like Leonardo da Vinci had these notebooks that just had like thousands of inventions that
He was a
90%.
scientist.
Yeah,
90%
he was like
of
an
them didn't,
engineer.
like, work out,
He
but like
realized-
also 10% of them are fucking crazy, like for his time.
How about this? He realized that when you looked at, so he was the first like perspective artist, I guess, where he would like actually look at things for long period of time and try and replicate the realism. There's one painting in the Uffizi that's where I saw it. It's you could tell that it's Leonardo da Vinci's first piece of artwork that he worked on, and he's working with a bunch of different other artists, and like the master artist was doing the main portrait, and then our tour guide goes, now try and find the part that Da Vinci worked on, and you're like looking around, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. She goes, look at the water, and the water, he was like 20 years old, the water was incredible. It was clear, and it had a reflectiveness, and it was the first time you'd ever seen that when a stick goes into the water, it actually bends a little bit, because he realized that kind of view from that part of the water, it would actually alter your view of what happens when it ripples. And you're like mind blown. And then he goes, look at the outside of this piece of clothing compared to the one on the right. And the one on the right was just one of the kids that were working with the master. And then the one on the left was Da Vinci, and it had no outlines, and it was perfectly made. It looked so real. And the left side of the painting was legitimately a photograph. And the right side of the painting was like a child did it.
That guy's getting bodied on the right side.
Yeah. And then
that's, you don't want to be put up.
then you
know,
realize
come on.
that there's a painting where she goes, all right, this is another Leonardo da Vinci. And in the background, the mountains are blue, like Coors Light. And she's like, he's the first one to realize that like he did the science behind it, that because of distance and moisture and fog, it changes the color and it's not so in the foreground, it's brown. The mountains are brown and they're green. And then as they get further, they start to change their hue and their color and their saturation. He realized all this by sitting on a mountain and writing down, like, why is it turning blue? Why can't we see color that much distance? What's happening? Like, what is happening in the atmosphere that is changing the color? And then he painted it.
Dude, I believe Da Vinci was the first guy to try to build an airplane.
He did. Yes, it's in his drawings. It's in his, notebook.
I think he was like, he would look at birds
helicopter.
And be like, well, if those fucking things can fly, like we can fly. We got to be able to figure
It was the helicopter. He like figured out that like it would bring it up.
The thing that's so lame about our time period is like when you see the Coliseum or you see the Mona Lisa, you know that it's like, oh, that's beautiful and that's something of note. Like in 2,000 years, if somebody finds this iPhone, you got to turn it on and then it's like, oh, this guy, what's TikTok, what's Twitter? Like there's just not, it's when you look at it, you don't see it and say that's amazing. Like with this stuff from Italy where it's obviously the Colosseum is a work of art. Obviously these paintings are incredible. Like I just don't know if we have anything like that.
There's a painting in the Uffizi of a woman and she's sitting and the tour guide goes, who does that look like? And you're like, Mona Lisa. And it's Raffaello painted it. He apparently had gotten a glimpse of Da Vinci's Mona Lisa because he would carry it around with him his whole life. It took him his whole life to essentially paint the Mona Lisa. It was his pride and joy. It was his most precious possession. And I guess Raffaello had seen it and was like, that's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. So he would paint all of his women in the same exact way, like looking off with the shoulder and the whole thing. It's crazy. It's another woman, but it looks just like the Mona Lisa. And you're like, you can't believe it. These guys all lived together and they were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was amazing.
Unreal.
Crazy.
Unreal. That was what I wanted. That was exactly what I wanted.
It was a little bit more of a history lesson than it was like my
I don't know.
initial
It's
reaction,
pretty good.
but yeah,
I think it's a vote for travel is what it is. It's
just really special. It's a really special place. It is.
Folks, I got on right now. I just went and grabbed this little chilly in here. I keep the apartment about 66 degrees. I just grabbed this new Peter Millar Orion full zip hoodie. I got to tell you, I got a lot of notifications, messages. My mom called me about the pronunciation of Orion because I said Orion. She called me. She's like, "Are you slow? Like, did we not teach you? What's wrong with you? Why are you saying Orion? You're making us look bad." I said, "Mom, I can't." I saw the letters Orion. I'm reading left to right, and it just came out that way. And then about halfway through, at least, I caught myself. So this is the Orion, fellas, full zip from Peter Millar.
And it's the time of year for that. Maybe not where you are, maybe inside your apartment, but outside of the apartments here on the Northeast, that thing is going to be necessary. You just zip that thing all the way up. It looks great. It feels great. I've got one. We've all got one. And the weather is trending in that direction. So everyone has to get the Orion zip up.
It features a slightly tailored fit, a unique textured exterior, true, that showcases a modern, sporty style. Performance benefits like four-way stretch, moisture, wicking, provide all-day comfort. If you're looking for the perfect piece for casual weekend wear, you've got the old or the new Orion hoodie from Peter Millar. I'm actually going up to Boston this weekend, doing a little reunion situation with a bunch of my college buddies, which I'm jacked up about. We're playing golf on Saturday. I will be rocking this Orion hoodie up there. So go check it out, petermillar.com/foreplay. You can check out the Orion and it's so hard for me not to say Orion and the rest of the Peter Millar line. A bunch of our favorites from the EB66 5-pocket pants, the Camberfly sneakers, their polos, which have the best collars, I think. I saw a little debate about collars recently, and like Peter Millar collars are off the charts. So go check out the full line. Nobody does it better than Peter Millar. Classy, comfortable, quality, the whole deal. So check them out. Go over right now to petermillar.com/foreplay.
We made every reservation on the Borrelli, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Borrelli. And I'm like, yeah, just outside of Naples, Napoli. Oh, in Napoli.
Napoli.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I also felt like an asshole. Like, speaking their language made me feel like an asshole. Does anyone ever, when you travel, have you ever felt that way?
No, I feel like you make an
like
effort.
it. They respect it.
Just like I'm walking in, I'm like, buongiorno. And they're like, bonjour, bene bene.
Gorlami.
I know how to like put a little bit of the accent on it, so I was like doing a little bit, right? I was like, ciao. And you got to kind of talk low and almost like you've been doing it your entire life, like bonjour. And you just kind of walk your way. But you have like, Hannah's like, I'm gonna like, she's just like trying to speak their language, like ciao. I'm just like, don't do that anymore. Don't do that anymore.
I don't know. I think I try to think of it the other way when you're here and like somebody that's clearly forward is grinding, trying to speak English. You're like, I kind of respect it. You try to help them.
Are you happy with your Insta story performance and your picture taking? I thought it was great.
Yeah, man. The Insta stories really. We went to this place, Murano and Burano. They're little cities they're little islands off of Venice. That's what all those colors of those buildings were. Yeah. It was incredible. Mm-hmm. And then they did this. I didn't put this on Instagram. I should have. This guy, because Dan mentioned glass. It's like the number one glass blowing place in the world. I think it's Murano. And this guy puts this. They have it on Netflix. There's like a glass blowing show.
Glass blowing is nuts,
bro. This guy put this little fucking thing in a furnace, comes out with it, and he starts blowing. And he made a horse. It was crazy out of glass. He's fucking bending this shit.
It's like an Italian balloon animal.
It was incredible. So that was very cool. I didn't put that on Instagram story, but yeah, I was happy. So I'm going to get a million messages about like what our itinerary was. I said it. It was Rome, Sorrento, Capri. Then we went all the way north. We went to Florence, and then we did Tuscany, Chianti, and then we went to Venice. I will say we skipped Pisa. We had a tour to Pisa, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We skipped it. We said, we ain't going. We're done. We're not going there. We were toured out. We heard that it was a waste of time. You get there. It's like an hour and a half from Florence. You're on the bus. You get off the bus, and apparently you just like look at a leaning tower, and you're like, you take the photo, and then you have nothing else to do. And like the tour guide's trying to make something interesting for the next 2 or 3 hours, and it's just not that great. I'm shitting on the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I didn't go. So if that's part of your itinerary, I would say I enjoyed just spending the day around Florence and walking around and drinking and eating sandwiches. So yeah, that was the one thing that we did skip on. And the drive to Positano from Sorrento is the worst drive you'll ever go on in your entire life. S-shaped the entire way for an hour and a half. You want to puke. They actually give you bags because you're going to puke. And that's something that I still haven't recovered from. Yeah.
All right. Yep. But otherwise, you're pretty happy with your choices, it feels like.
100%. Just a perfect trip. Makes me want to travel more. I want to go next week. I want to go somewhere else.
I figure you guys will probably return to Italy, right?
Yeah, I would love to. Sorrento is going to be a place I'm going to go to again. If I'm able to.
You got to take advantage of being on the East Coast and being like, you can go to Portugal or Ireland. Yeah, it's an hour further than California.
Has your dad ever been to Italy?
Yeah, he's been like 4 times. He actually took a boat over there and then flew back once. He did the whole deal.
What?
Yeah.
You could do that?
Yeah, I think it was like a huge cruise or something, but he took the boat all the way across the Atlantic and then flew back. I guess they were like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
Probably made some sweet stops at like some islands or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. All right. Well, we introduced a new segment while you were gone, Frankie.
I saw that. That was cool.
Yep. Closest to the pin. I don't know if we have the tallies of the current standings.
I got the stats for you if you want them.
Bushman.
So Dan has 4 wins, Trent has 3, and Riggs has 1.
Yeah, that was my first win right there, right?
Yep.
I saw Dan had someone like was it Tom Kim to like miss a birdie putt, a 7-foot birdie putt, and then he missed a 6-foot birdie putt?
Yeah, I said he was gonna make a par. And he eagled it on Saturday. He also, and I think he birdied on Thursday, but on Friday he missed like a 7-footer for birdie and made par, which is what I thought which I said was gonna happen.
I had him for eagle on that Friday. That's tough.
He won the tournament. He won the tournament.
Yeah, he did win, but he didn't eagle it on Friday. So it's like,
yeah, that is BS that he ended up winning it and didn't birdie that hole. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's a great segment.
Maybe is this Frankie's week to come up with questions?
Yeah, I think we should do Frankie on Thursday.
You don't have to do it now.
Okay, I see. So I have to come up with questions that you guys have to get closest to the pin.
We're all guessing. So the tricky part is you got to come up with a question that, in theory, you should supply the same information that you have so everybody can make kind of the same guess. But, for example, like when we did the first question that we did was, what's Frankie's weight going to be when he returns from Italy? we all were starting from the same basic knowledge. We didn't really know your weight. We were kind of guessing, whatever.
And it's questions that you can participate in as well because they don't have answers yet. That's the
Right.
big thing. Where
Right.
it was like one of the
It's a
first
lot. You're
ones.
throwing a lot on. I mean, this is.
It's all right.
It's a lot. It's gonna be. That's,
You're not doing it right now. It's for next show.
yeah, I'm gonna. If we were recording at 11 a.m., I'll be doing this at 10:58 a.m. So I gotta get all the information I can right now to try and come up with questions.
Yep.
Like the Max Homa one originally was how many likes is he going to get on this
Yeah.
particular Saturday?
Okay.
And then we all just guess, and you guess too because you don't know either.
And then whoever gets, there's 4 questions each time because there's usually 4 par 3s on a golf course. And then whoever gets it right, you tally that as a W. And then at the end we'll do like this year or whatever, whoever wins gets a grand prize. And then we put out the little graphic. People can guess as well. And whoever wins, we kind of send them a little present.
How are you going, Bush? How are you going about determining the listener winners? That's got to be a nightmarish process.
Yeah, we're gonna have Rob kind of go through, but
Yeah.
we're gonna be
Put down on Rob.
in the next
After
week.
breakfast.
Tally that up in
We're
2026.
we're gonna make like a little form that people can fill out, so it'll be much easier.
After breakfast.
As soon as he's done with that,
There's a coffee run.
egg
Yeah,
McMuffin.
lattes.
he
Had
can
that
just go-
breakfast.
go good.
Had to have breakfast.
Dude, it's
Had to. Most important
9:07.
meal
I
of the
had
day,
that
Frank.
breakfast. Yeah, no, Alex Bush. Speaking of Alex Bush, I brought him to the Islander game the other night. Islanders Sabres. And the Islanders absolutely dismantled that Sabre fucking ass. So that was nice to watch.
Dismantled.
Yeah, we dismantled you. I mean, you came back in the end, but it was still a win. It was nice to see Alex Bush in his element, watching his team just losing. That's like the Buffalo element. I feel like
It is,
You really
big
realize
time.
that Buffalo hasn't won anything. And I know
Dude.
that the Islanders haven't won anything, but at least the Yankees have won something in my life. Alex Bush is the most passionate fan about his teams, and they have been historically they've won 0 of everything.
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Bush, you were also 30 points off.
Yeah, I mean, it
You were,
doesn't matter.
you were
It doesn't-
30 points. You were also 30 points off.
I mean,
The Bills were 30 points
Not a
off.
single.
you
And
know,
they've been
at the
close.
end of the
Obviously,
day,
Bills,
good teams win. You know,
At the end, obviously the Bills with their history, but the Sabres had like in the late '90s, early 2000s were sick with Dominic Hasek and
Oh,
like
yeah.
Mike Peck.
Yeah, they
We
lost
saw
in
some
the
good
Stanley Cup
jerseys.
final.
We saw some
Oh.
good jerseys at UBS. Those old school Dominic Hasek, like the actual black and red saber. Really good.
Bush was 30 points off on his estimate for the Bills. They scored 14 points. He said they were going to score 44 points.
Yep,
Alex
that was
Bush
tough.
also, we were supposed to film something last week on Thursday. I had to move it to Friday. And then I got a text from Bush being like, are you kidding me? Like, we can't do Thursday. I'm like, yeah, I can't, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking maybe he's got some family event that he's got to go to. What does he need to be back? I get a text from this guy on Thursday morning saying,
Uh-oh.
if I miss this Taylor Swift movie
Oh, no.
debut, you are going to see real tears.
Oh,
And
no.
I saw him in person. I said, so you're going to the concert? He said, no, I'm going to the movie. I said, oh, is it playing, just like one night only? He's like, no, but I have to see the premiere. So Alex, did you get back in time?
yeah, I got back plenty of time, dude. I got back. I got to take an hour nap, a shower, and that was good.
Those
Did it-
theater videos are pretty wild that I've been seeing. People
Yeah,
dancing,
it's
people
Taylor
fucking-
Lautner
it's
doing
fucking
backflips
insane.
and shit.
And it's
Yeah, that
just
was
her
hilarious.
like I was kind of texting with Bush, like it's just the concert kind of like in a souped up movie version. Is that pretty
Yeah,
much
it's
it?
like the concert really like produced into a movie, and
Is
people
there any
go
behind the
crazy.
scenes footage or no?
A little bit, but I mean, not really. But it's great
Just
shots
like
that you'll never see.
You
at the
could just
concert.
watch it on YouTube. Like it's pretty much a nicer version of somebody recording it on their iPhone on YouTube and putting it on
I mean,
the internet.
it's great production quality. I have to say.
Yeah. No, great
Shout out to the
production.
New York Jets, by the way. The New York Jets fucking
Yeah.
pulled off a miracle win against the Eagles. Just
that was crazy.
the most preposterous win of all time. The Eagles couldn't get a single point in the second half. The defense was insane, and Zach Wilson was doing everything he could to not win that game. We couldn't get in the end zone. We're kicking field goals like crazy. Just the whole game, you're like, I can't believe this is going to be the loss to the Eagles. We should have beat the fucking Patriots the same way. We're going to lose to the Eagles on a game that if we had Aaron Rodgers, we would have won by 40 at that point, and we're going to lose. And then they somehow pulled it fucking off. That defense is incredible. The
Jalen
New York
Hurts was
Jets are
horrible.
real. Yeah, Jalen Hurts was bad, but the Jets defense just gets on them so fast. They're
Dude,
so good.
It's almost you're going to look back on this season and be like, "What if?" That's
Yup.
the shitty part of it with Aaron Rodgers going
How
down.
about that guy
That's-
still on the sidelines, like throwing footballs and walking
Yeah.
around?
Yeah, I mean, is
hanging.
there
Can we get him
He's
to talk
coming
to
back.
Tiger Woods?
He's coming back.
is there
this year.
legitimacy to this, like lightning fast recovery thing?
So,
Do we,
dude,
is
I
he
think
just,
I think he's blending Western medicine with like mushrooms and the
I
power
know he's
of
doing that.
meditation.
But my
And I
point
think
is
it's like
But my
he's
point
coming
is,
back.
like, he's claiming that it's. But is there any legitimacy to?
Well,
like, have we
I
seen
think he
any
got, like, an
verification that he's like?
Yeah, he got a
way
bridge.
faster?
I think he got like an
a crazy-
internal brace on his Achilles. Like, so
like it was some groundbreaking procedure from Dr. Neil Elytrage, who's like the new Dr. James Andrews, and yeah, it's like experimental.
He's on IR, so he can't come back until the playoffs, right?
Isn't there like a 4-game IR and an 8-game IR?
he's not coming
like,
back before the season.
No,
if he comes back,
dude.
it's going to be in the playoffs if they make it.
Bro,
but
here's what I'm saying: that video of him like walking around, he's not limping, and I understand that it's different. He just won't scramble. You know what I mean? Like he can stand back there
if
and
he
throw the
played
football.
if he played a snap in 5 weeks, his Achilles would just pop. I mean, the guy.
I think
Can't
he'll
do
be
that.
back for the beginning. If they make the playoffs, I think he'll be back for the beginning. Like I think he's on some crazy German superhuman blood spinning shit.
It's crazy what this
That's what
guy's
Kobe
doing.
did.
Bro, he got surgery 4 weeks ago.
It's fucking crazy. He's not supposed to be moving for another
No.
2 months.
Can we get him to talk to Tiger Woods?
There's no way Tiger Woods is not paying attention to what's going on here. There's no way.
100%.
That, you know what? This is going to be our coliseum. The advancements in medical procedures. It happened. Guys recover so much faster now, dude. ACL blowouts. You used to just be mostly your career was over, but you were out for like 2 years. Now you guys are coming back in no time.
Dude,
It's crazy
imagine
what's going on.
if in the hunter and gatherer era, if you tore your Achilles, they would they would just hit you with a rock and just take you out. I mean, you're done. You're just a
You
problem.
can't keep
to
up with
society.
us. You're going
Right.
to drag us down.
Right.
We're not going to be able to do what we want to do. We're just
Just-
going
We're gonna lay on a
recently
bed.
as like the war, it was like you just had like people would come back with just like a stinky leg.
Right.
Yeah, and they'd be like a wooden leg, and you would just be you're unfortunately you couldn't contribute anything to society. You were just pretty much done. You had to become like an artist or something.
Couple of things I forgot to say about Italy real quick. No chicken parm. So if you're going there, that's not happening. You're not getting it. It's Americanized. You're not getting that. They do not offer it. You can get eggplant parm, but you're not getting chicken parm.
Imagine how many assholes from America go over there and be like,
Can I
we'll
have a
take the
chicken
chicken
parmigiana?
parm.
Chicken parmigiana? No. Oh, can you get the chicken and then the pasta on the side then and the cheese? Oh, okay, I'll just make it myself. And then the second one is you don't put, and I've known this my whole life, but it was funny because my brother-in-law Nick did this and I thought we were getting whacked. We were in a real old school place, .evo it's called. And you walk in and there's George Clooney got engaged in there, and like his bottle of wine that they use to celebrate it is signed, and it's an incredible place called .evo.
Jesus.
You got to get a boat to get in. It's nuts. And we're in there, and he orders a linguine and clams. Right, you're in Venice, and he wanted cheese. He wanted grated cheese on it. And the guy looked at him. He goes, "With fish?"
Oh boy.
And Nick goes, "Yeah, like I kind of really want that grated cheese." And he looked at me like, "What?" And the guy's like, "Are you sure?" He gave him a second out. First one was with fish, made him answer it. Second one was, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "Yes." And he goes, "Okay," and then walked in the back. He said, "Okay," just like that. Walked in the back, comes out with the cheese, and he goes as loud as he could, "Grated cheese for the fish."
Fuck, dude.
And
I
then,
would make so
Nick
many
was
mistakes like that.
Nick was like, no, it's okay. He goes, no, you want cheese. Like he was
You
like,
want.
no, you want. He filled that shit.
Damn.
Yeah, don't
I would
do
make
that.
so many mistakes like that. I think I want
Same.
cheese on everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
my first, and Borrelli last name restaurant. I eat prosciutto all the time here. First sandwich shop I went to. They have these sandwich shops, by the way. You walk up and they just have these paninis, and the lines are crazy, but they run fast, and it's just the best bread. They slab some fucking liquid cheese or some fresh mozzarella on there. They throw prosciutto on there. They close it up and they hand it to you, and you're on your way. It's incredible. One day I asked them to combine meats. I was like, "Can I get the mortadella and the prosciutto and all?" And they go, "We do not mix meat." Right in my eyeballs. Right in my eyeballs. We don't mix that shit. So okay. That's a lesson. Day one that was in Rome. I'll never do
You're
that
learning.
again.
You're fucking learning.
Wow.
All right. A couple things on the logistical front. We've got the Sand Valley series is out. The first
Yes.
episode is out. We have run back alternate shot, which people fucking loved, and we did it at Big Cedar. It's been a year. We don't get the whole squad together all that often, especially including the big guys. So we went a rematch. Went myself and Frankie against Trent and Lurch at Sand Valley, the Core Crenshaw original course at Sand Valley, Wisconsin. Our first round. I believe you guys were getting 8 shots. Is that right? In the alternate shot?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Against us, we ran the handicaps, did whatever you're supposed to do. Cut it. You're supposed to divide it by 2. Did it. It came down to the wire, some amazing shots, some huge moments, and it's nice to get the big guy back in the mix. So that came out yesterday if you're listening on YouTube. So that should be, boom, out there available. You can watch it. And then we're rolling stuff out. I mean, these guys were telling me, Brendan and Alex, that we've got 2 YouTube videos every week throughout the rest of the year are already planned. And we still have, 3 or 4 more trips where we're going to go film more videos. So these guys are fucking in it right now. We got a ton of stuff coming out.
We got 3 like significant things coming up.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.
Yeah.
That just pop into my mind. So that's super exciting. Go watch Side Gig if you haven't watched it. Reviews are very good. People like it. It's a good show.
Yep.
Lexi Thompson, I just wanted to get that out there. Hugely impressive showing. So I think, Trent, did you have 1 under? I think you won that one.
I had to have. I think I had 2 under.
I think you had 2 under. So she finished even par. She was right around the cut line the whole time. Just one stat that I want to highlight, just to kind of show you like how crazy golf is. I'm not really sure what to make of this, but Ben Griffin last week, so the week before the tournament in Vegas, he lost in a playoff. So he shot the lowest score, lost in a playoff to Luke List. There was like a 5-man playoff. Lexi Thompson beat him in Vegas the next week. So 36 holes, we're not talking 1 hole here. We're talking 36 holes, same tees. This guy finished 24th in Memphis in the playoff event, his first event of the fall. He loses in a playoff, and Lexi Thompson beat him. So golf is strange. There's a lot of variance, but also just extremely impressive for her to shoot even par 7,200 yards, and she was right there. She did make a lot of putts. So it wasn't like, she didn't really miss anything. Like, she definitely got a lot of her game, but to shoot even par on 7,200 yards or 7,300 yards or whatever it was hugely impressive. A hugely impressive showing.
Yeah, and I was one of the big, it was late. It might have been her second to last hole where it was like 246 par 3 or whatever it was, and she hit this like flighted 2-iron exactly how she wanted to, and it just ran through the green. And I'm like, for that was a little bit of the difference right there, where I'm like, dude, she hit the best shot that she could with that club. And is able to hit the fucking golf shots. And she made a couple, she made 2 bogeys in the back 9, her final 9. Otherwise, she was within the cut line. So insanely impressive out there. And the putting, making putts, that might be the most impressive part. That's like touch and feel under that kind of pressure with the crowds were swelling. It was really sick. And we talked about it leading up, but like, she's not even having, by all accounts, the most impressive year. I think she's 20-something in the world rankings, the Rolex world rankings for the women. And yeah, she is one of the longer hitters. So you would think that like, if that's one of the biggest gaps, that her out there might be able to compete. And she did. She was absolutely killing it. And for her to come back, right? She shot, a few over. It was looking like it wasn't even going to really be much of a story. I think she bogeyed her first hole on Friday and then just went birdie, a bunch of birdies and like got herself in the mix. So it was fucking awesome to watch. It was crazy to see all kind of sports, Twitter, and like everybody getting behind it on Friday. So yeah, that was badass. Very badass.
That's the perfect use of a sponsor's exemption. Also, Ludwig Ober, it's Ober. That's the pronunciation. Since the Ryder Cup,
not on here. It's going to be
Aberg for forever.
Aberg.
Since the Ryder Cup, he lost in a playoff at Sanderson Farms and shot 62 yesterday to finish T13. So he continues to climb. Data Golf has him as the number 20 player in the world. Tom Kim, his 3rd win, faster than anyone since Tiger Woods. Youngest guy to get to 3rd win since Tiger Woods. So 2 of them have come in Vegas. He hasn't won like a big tournament yet, but listen, 3 wins at 21 years old. I don't think anyone can complain about that.
It's also like he doesn't drink or really party. So no wonder he
never been to
Vegas.
A party.
Everybody else is fucking
never been to a gathering of people who might be having a party together.
Something.
Everybody else is sending it. He refuses to go to a gathering of people that might be having a fun time.
I'm surprised by that. I thought, how Jordan Spieth, wasn't he right there? I could have swore he was super young and winning a bunch of tournaments, but
he won his first one, I think, when he was 20. He won the John Deere, but yeah, I guess there was a little bit of a gap. And then at age 21, he started really firing.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's one of those where like he needs to really keep pace, or he'll be leading right now, and then in a year and a half he'll be like 5 tournaments behind, including a Masters and like a U.S. Open. And you'd be like, all right, well, that's tough.
Shout out our guy Callum Tarrant. He was on 59 watch on Saturday. Did you guys see that? And then he double bogeyed 17. That was brutal. Was it? Yeah, it was 17. But that guy's playing phenomenal golf as well. I'm not sure where he finished up, but I was watching him on Saturday, just rooting on our guy Callum. He's, I think he's going to be a force this upcoming season. I think Callum's really going to, find his footing here.
That'd be great.
I love Colin Taryn. He's fucking great. I'm looking at the. I think the Postman, our guy JT Poston. I think he and Fleener, they had a good week out there. So it's nice to see some of those names up there. I saw Hero World Challenge just released. The field, they've got 19 of the 20 people are listed in the field thus far. Interesting of note, it says world number 1 Scotty Scheffler and 7 other top 10 players. Willie Zalatoris is in there. Willie Z hasn't played in whatever. It's been a year and a half with his back issues and whatnot. We saw him hitting some shots at that clinic at Liberty National, I think, that a bunch of those guys were at like 3 weeks ago or something like that. So Willie Z's in there. No Rahm, Rory, or Tiger, but there's still one spot available. So who knows what they're going to do with that last spot. But it always comes down to this, and it's never just easy.
Is it going to be the guy in the Call of Duty hoodie? Is he going to play?
It might be that guy. How about those videos of him and Charlie just ruthlessly chirping each other?
Also, he's just got a residency at the Hay now. He's out there. Every time he's around, people are making a hole in one. Again, we've talked about it for a long time. His fashion is interesting, and this was even more interesting because he's on a golf course, which he usually knows what he's doing. But that Call of Duty, he's just out there, man. I don't know what he's doing.
That's a fit that I've never seen on the golf course before. I've never seen that combination.
And it's the Hay, so it's a golf course, but it's more of a chill, relaxed atmosphere. So Tiger's like, I'm going to throw on this Call of Duty hoodie, backwards hat, sunglasses, and we're going to have
it was the beat up like backwards hat, the big sunglasses, the Call of Duty hoodie, the basketball shorts, and then the Foot J icons with the leg sleeve. I don't think there's anyone in the world who's ever worn that to a golf course. It was an unprecedented fit. I'd never seen it before.
I mean, he looked fucking ridiculous.
It was insane. He looked insane.
He did look insane. But the takeaway is he's just out there all the time, and he's clearly walking that course, having a good time. Like, this guy wants to play golf.
Yeah, he does. I saw with the even with the banged up leg, he was doing the move where he steps on the face of the wedge so that the handle pops up in the air and grabs it. He was doing the step with the bad leg, so I like that.
He also was picking up a bunch of tees on the ground, throwing them in the little box. Like, he's moving around. Mm-hmm. Again, the limp is always going to be there because that's how you're going to walk for the rest of your life. So you're not in pain. And I don't think he's in pain. I do not think so. Yes, I haven't been on the pod in 2 weeks since that video released. The leg looked very, very weak. It looked like one of my legs. It was a weak leg. It looked like he's not putting much pressure on it, but his action was phenomenal. I mean, the divot, the ball zipped back on the green. Why does the leg have to look good if that's the product, if that's the result?
I'm with you. Dan's our resident Woods family hater, so you'd have to probably go up against him. But for me, I'm with you. I've seen what I kind of need to see. We talked about it last time. We said the leg doesn't look amazing, but we've been saying this for 2 years. If you've got a banged up leg, the way that you protect it is you limp. It doesn't mean you're required to, doesn't mean you can't even move on it. It means you are basically walking to protect it so that it's ready for the golf swing. We saw earlier this year, 182, 183 mile an hour ball speed with the driver. So by all accounts, post-surgery, that's only going to be better. So I'm taking all of this as a massive positive outside of the outfit situation.
Yeah, I mean, if you're nipping wedges to pin high from 110 yards out, I don't care if you're swinging with your asshole. I don't care what it looks like. Just get that ball in the hole.
Why doesn't he get one of those things where you put your knee on and you wheel yourself around? Or
he doesn't need it.
He's not in pain, dude.
That's right.
Come on, guys. What are we talking about here? Did we watch him play last year? It looked like his leg was about to fall off.
He's had surgery.
He had surgery,
Dan. You don't think surgery helps?
Also, I want to say, if Tiger Woods is going to be out there,
I got something to say. Tiger Woods is going to win another fucking major.
Oh my God, you guys!
Agreed. I might have to pour a glass of.
If Tiger Woods is going to
win the Masters,
if Tiger Woods is going to be out there hitting golf shots and people are going to be around, just a word of advice to the people filming the videos. The videos are about the Tiger swing. The commentary is a little much. The guy who took one of the Tiger videos was just very into the commentary.
Oh, shut up, right? I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. I appreciate you taking the video. We're there to watch Tiger swing. I don't need I get that this is this guy's moment. He's like, Tiger Woods is here. He's in front of me. I'm going to film this and I'm going to say what I'm feeling while it's happening. I'm just silence and let's all just watch the beauty of the Tiger Woods swing.
He kept saying, get in. Oh, yeah, rip back. That's going in. Tiger's like, it's not going in.
Did you hear the one where the guy's like, oh, a couple tequilas make it better? And Tiger goes, oh, lubricated?
Yeah. Dude, The worst part of the fucking dweeb accounts that are like, listen to the commentary, like LOL face. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? The comment,
No,
you couldn't find that little audio microphone button and just hit it fast enough on that video. I just want to watch. Just want to look.
know.
I wish I could have wore these the whole show, but I have a problem looking through sunglasses. I was getting made fun of in Italy for doing a lot of this when I was having conversations. So like, just look through the glasses. It's just so damn dark.
Maybe you just have too dark of sunglasses.
They're just so damn dark.
Yeah.
How did PFT commenter do for all those years?
I have no idea.
That's
I have
crazy.
no idea, man. Walking around inside like this, nuts.
I feel like you took some fashion risks while you were over there. You were in shorts. You were showing a lot of chest, I thought, which I liked it. I thought it was great.
There was a lot of limoncello and a lot of wine induced, but I think that I just went for it, you know?
Good for
Did
you.
you get recognized over there
I
at all?
did. There's a lot of Americans there for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of like random. It was no Italians recognized me, which was obvious. But like we'd be in like a very, very, tucked away crevice of Sorrento, and we'd be walking to this like off the beaten path restaurant that we had heard about from someone at the hotel, and somehow, some way, like I hear in the distance, Frankie, and I'm just like, no way, man. Yeah. And the guy's from like Hicksville, Long Island. Like he's like, yeah, I'm out here with my pops. It's like, all right, like you ruined it. Like,
anybody at the Sistine Chapel being like, Frankie?
No, luckily not in there.
I had an experience at the Coliseum where I was like, I was filming a video because I filmed one in front of the Coliseum, and people were like yelling, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then I remembered, oh no, it's just like the American golf fans who were over there for the Ryder Cup. It's not
the
like
day we went to
haven't
the
gone
Coliseum.
worldwide.
We were waiting for the lights, so we did like the 4:00 tour, and then we were like, oh, we'll wait for the lights to come on because it's beautiful when the lights come on, the sunset and the whole deal. Also, perfect weather for 2 straight weeks. I mean.
That's amazing.
Never was higher than 83.
When I was in Italy.
Never was higher than 83. Never was lower than 74. And never a single cloud any day. Not one day, not one cloud. Except for in Venice when we were leaving, where our flight got delayed because there's so many seagulls around that airport. You literally take a boat. Like where most airports have like a taxi drop off, it's a boat drop off, and there's a million boats coming in from Venice. It's incredible. But there was a little foggy, and all the seagulls were around the airport, and they were like getting into engines and shit. So we had to like wait for 3 hours and then fly north instead of whatever. But I was gonna say, I actually don't remember what I was gonna say because I just cut myself off so many times. I was saying something.
Italy? Coliseum, maybe?
Oh, the Coliseum. When we went to Coliseum, I went to go to an area while we were waiting for the lights to come on to go fart because I was a little gassy. We were eating a lot of cheese. I think I'm lactose intolerant. Lactaid saved my life over there. I was taking it before every meal. And I went to go fart, and there was a spot. There was like a little walk-up spot, and there was no one up there. And I'm like, I'm gonna go rip ass up there. And my group knew that I was going up there, so I'm gonna go rip ass. And I go up there, and I'm doing the whole thing. I'm acting like I'm taking a photo of the Coliseum, and I just rip a fart. And 3 Ryder Cup fans are walking down this fucking walkway, and they're like, Frankie, no way! And I'm like, we were just sitting in it. Sitting in the fart, and I'm just like, I'm talking to them, I'm like, yeah, nice, and I'm trying to move with them, and they're like kind of around me. So that was a tough moment. If you're listening to this, and I farted on you at the Coliseum, I'm sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I also let one rip. I was like a problem out there. I also let one rip in Florence, and it echoed because the buildings are so close. It was insane. It was like, and the whole place kind of turned around. They're like, what was that?
That's the other thing that's funny when you think about places like that. There's all this beautiful art, and there's Sistine Chapel, and there's a statue of David. People have been farting there for hundreds of years. Just people farting.
And I don't know if like, what would you say, Dan? And I mean, you guys have been to Europe. What would you say the deodorant sales are like in Europe? Because they can't be high.
Yeah, there's just an acceptance of a certain level of BO.
They just smell, man. Like it's just something just smells over there, like BO. Like it's like the tour guide smelled like BO. Like they just fucking don't really wear deodorant. I don't think.
I bet they're natural, dude.
They are natural.
They come over here and they're like, why does everybody smell like a fucking flower? It's like,
Makes
why
you
are you trying to bat that down with whatever you're putting under your arms? Like, baby, we're natural over here, all right? Natural wine, natural BO, natural paintings. It's fine.
Dude, they used to, at the Coliseum, they had bathrooms, and they were like the first communal, like legit bathrooms like you would see at Nassau Coliseum. It had little places you would sit, but everyone would be looking at each other. They didn't have stalls because they were like men and they didn't give a fuck, right? And the one really bad part that I learned was that they didn't have toilet paper because paper wasn't invented yet. So they, right? Is that true?
They had to have papyrus by 70.
Papyrus, but I don't think they had like paper, like toilet paper.
They weren't willing to waste it on bathrooms.
Fair. It was a
Correct.
hot commodity. You couldn't just be.
I don't think it was the
wiping your
paper that
fucking
we
asshole
like.
with it.
I don't think it was like the soft tissue paper that we have. I think she said tissue paper was invented, and so they used sponges, and they would like share them. So if they ran out of like sponge, like they would have enough sponges for each thing. But like if you took a shit and then I took a shit, like that sponge is just there. It's on the end of a little pole.
It's
and
I'll
we're
be
just-
thinking that they had.
It's had
I'll
such
be
an
honest. It's crazy
elegant
that they had
start to
sponges.
the show, and then we've turned into just farting in people's faces and sharing shit sponges. You know,
that one was a real. She said it in the middle of the tour, and everyone was like, "Ugh." Just didn't need it.
Yeah.
No, you don't need that. You don't need that. All right. Well, welcome back, Frankie. Welcome back to America.
Appreciate that. Thank you very
Mhm.
much, guys.
Mhm.
It's
Start
great
Start
to be
planning your
back.
questions for Thursday.
I haven't hit a golf ball in what feels like a month. I've just been itching. I didn't see much grass out there. I did in Chianti and like Tuscany, but like just a lot of cobblestone, a lot of like history, a lot of water. And I was just like, I haven't seen like a fairway in a long time.
Gotta
Looking
get
forward
out.
to hitting a wedge.
You only got about another month out here, so you got to get after it.
I know.
Yeah,
I
we're
know.
running out of time.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Thursday. We got closest to the pin, which is Frankie is going to take the lead on. And yeah, go check out our YouTube videos. Go buy our merchandise, please. Store it at barstoolsports.com. Anybody have anything else?
Shout out to the New
Alex,
York Islanders.
How
Shout out
many,
to the Blues.
Alex, sorry. How many tweets did the NBA tweet?
They had I have it written down. I think it was like 20. You were the closest. It was 21. You had 22, but I think you kind of cheated on that.
Is it true that he just gave us
Yeah,
the
there were
wrong
only
number of
3.
games?
There were only 3 games, and Dan had the least guess, so it's kind of sus.
You
It's
said there were
2
9
weeks in a row.
games or 7.
Yeah, he said there were 7, and there were 3.
New rule for close to the pin. You have to be honest.
I plead the
Yeah.
fifth on this one.
That's 2 weeks in a row. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
What do
was
you
the
mean,
other
plead
one?
fifth?
When you DM'd Max Homa to tell him not to tweet.
That was fair game. That
See,
was
that's
fair
fine
game.
to me. I
That
think
was
the-
crazy. I thought I saw
I
that. That was
think-
insane.
I think you got to set the
the
rules. but I
integrity of
think-
it's insane.
Yeah, there's
What do you
like
mean?
I
Choose
thought
better
there was a
questions.
natural integrity in general, just in general, in almost anything that you would do. And this one,
No.
where you came in and said there were 7 games, did you do that on purpose?
No,
Oh, well then that's
That
kind
was
of
a
fucked
lie.
up.
I was just wrong. Okay, I'll take that. We can nullify that one if you want. I mean,
All the information presented at the time of the close to the pin questions has to be accurate to your knowledge.
So I can say like the Islanders have a game on Friday. I can say like how many saves the goalie will have that.
yes,
night.
yes.
That'll
Yep.
be one.
So
And
that's
then,
obviously
you know,
going to be one.
And then right, and then typically, if you were to say like, by the way, you know, he had so far this season, he's averaging.
They're playing the Devils. The
27
Devils have a
saves
bunch of shots on goal.
right.
That
shit
could be
like
a fun part of it too. You don't have to, but like if you kind of have some information that you want to present to the class along with your questions, I think that's great too.
Just make sure it's correct.
It has
Yeah.
to be.
Which Dan was incorrect. So that's a little bit. I take a little bit of an issue with that.
Frankie, you probably know the Islanders goalie. I don't know who it is, but
Elias
you-
Sorokin.
but then after that, you could text him and be like, "I need you big time here
Nah.
because I got this thing going
I
on."
need you to
I
make
think
a
that's
lot of
fine.
saves.
I mean, I know he's going to try anyway, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. If you have any questions, we can handle internally. Okay. All right. Well, we'll be back on Thursday. Nice little Italian, trip lesson, history, the whole deal. So that was lovely. And we're in the off season anyways, for the most part. So we kind of needed that. We'll be back on Thursday. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit hard.
Buongiorno. Ciao. Arrivederci.